What's up, gaming nerds? Another beautiful day. Yeah. Hope you people are doing good and your five senses work. Find an article here on Eurogamer. Says here, it's talking about emulation. It says here, emulation should be used to preserve older games. Xbox chief Phil Spencer suggests Super Xbox Entertainment System. Anyway, it says here, Microsoft Vice President of Gaming Phil Spencer wants the game industry to preserve older games through emulation. In an interview with Axios, the Xbox chief said, "My hope," and then in parentheses it says, "and I think I have to present it that way as of now." Close parentheses. Now it says here, in an interview with Axios, the Xbox chief says, "My hope is an industry we work on legal emulation that allow modern hardware to run any, within reason, older executables, allowing someone to play any game." On game preservation specifically, Phil Spencer said, "I think we can learn from the history of how we got here, through creative. I love it in movies and TVs, and there are positive reasons for gaming to want to follow." But then he says, game preservation remains a problem in the industry. While this is Eurogamer talking. While the latest generation of consoles from Microsoft and Sony features backwards compatibility with the previous generation natively, it falters when it comes to compatibility going any further back. Sony does support PS3 through its cloud gaming platform, PlayStation Now, while Microsoft has been working hard to port over and enhance Xbox 360 title to the latest consoles. Yet the library of both platforms remains limited, and online service in older games can be shut down at any moment's notice, as fans of Skate 2 have unfortunately discovered. But the biggest hurdle is a legal one. Emulators remain a legal gray area, as they can run afoul of copyright laws. It is up to right holders to allow the emulation scene to flourish. One can hope a push from Microsoft is the step in the right direction. Anyway, then the comments here, lots of them too. Let me see if I can get through them. It says 0 in the comments on Eurogamer. Well, we all know Eurogamer can't count. But anyway, one person say, good to see prominent figure in the game industry saying this. Microsoft is making Sony and Nintendo look bad. Okay, anyway, says here, another person says, Phil Spencer with his forward-thinking ideas should be taken into serious consideration by everyone in the industry. Another person here says, fully agree, gaming industry should absolutely preserve, just like every other art form. I don't care what art experts say. IMO, games are art. Then another person here says, sounds to me like Microsoft are now trying to find ways around the legal issue which prevent them from bringing some games to back cat, meaning catalog. Another person here says, do you blame them? So many games aren't being released for back cat because of rights issues. Jet Set Radio Future being the best example. Another person here says, good, I hope they do. Another person here said, same person says, I hope so. Another person here says, there should be zero legal issues with allowing a newer console to run emulated copies of games that people legally own. But unfortunately there is. Hopefully Microsoft's huge push into rendering backwards compatibility can fix that one day. It's an Xbox thing. Another person here say, in an ideal world that doesn't exist. Console vendors would just allow emulators to be distributed through their consoles marketplace. Imagine if you could just buy a ROM of Super Mario 64 for a tenner on Nintendo's website, and then grab Project 64 or whatever from the PlayStation Store and play Mario on your PS5. Mismatched game and emulators. Anyway, another person here says, I don't think there are issues. If you look at their latest batch, several of the 360 games have not actually returned to the store. For example, Fear. I can only assume that they couldn't obtain the license to sell them again, so they released them only for players who own the disc. But while that gives them some goodwill, it doesn't bring in any money. So I can see why they wouldn't want to do that very often. Another person here says, it is a shame though, because if Microsoft said the only way we can bring back Jet Set Radio Future is for people who still own the disc, that would be better than nothing. Another person here says, I wonder if they're still working on getting those games back onto the store, or something fell through. After all, it isn't just Microsoft involved. The people who own the rights to those games have to give permission to make them backwards compat. You would expect them to want to be able to sell new copies of those games as much or more than Microsoft, rather than letting eBay and CX hover over any profit to be had. Last comment here. There's so many of them. Well, another person here says, good take though. Although the issue really isn't running the game in emulators, as emulation is very much legal and protected law, and more souring the game, the industry should work on the legal distribution of older games. Some sort of archive where games would be kept in perpetuity, and where people would be able to source them, either buy a copy to the IP holder or just download a free copy of public domain software. Look, I think when it comes to this, to fight this emulation thing, I think console manufacturers should have made their consoles backwards compatible from the start, and that will, you wouldn't have to be worried about emulation, but I think I think that's what should happen. But for what Phil Spencer is saying in this article, though, he made a good point. Emulation, preserve older games. If the console manufacturer don't want to make their system backwards compatible. This is why, me personally, I had an issue with Nintendo when it came to the Wii U, because I didn't buy into it, the sales, marketing, commercial failure. And this article really addressed the Wii U situation now when you really look at it, because the Wii U had the Wii U has the virtual console, and with the virtual console, the Wii U was missing the GameCube, so it was Nintendo's responsibility to bring all those games to the Wii U's virtual console, instead of like hiding behind sales numbers, like a bunch of cowards. So to me, two things that really happened to the Wii U was lies, excuses, and laziness. And number two, they didn't want to put the work in. Put the work in meaning that you take the games from the 8-bit Nintendo, Super Nintendo, GameCube, Wii U, and next gen, and bring them to the virtual console. And then you take the games from the Sega Genesis, from Sega side, and bring them to the Wii U's virtual console. Same thing goes for the Neo Geo, the arcades, Panasonic 3DO, and so forth. So to me, Nintendo, lied to really create the Switch, and I'm seeing people now. First they were saying that it was sales, marketing, commercial failure, and that was a lie. Then they say people didn't know what the Wii U was, and that was another lie. Then another thing they're saying, the Wii U didn't stand a chance. That's another lie. And then another thing they said, the Wii U lost momentum, and that's another lie. And then I'm sitting here looking at I think it was RGT this morning, and then he gonna talk about how Nintendo gave up on it. Really, but you were the one that was sitting here telling the public that it was sales, marketing, commercial failure. So Nintendo just gave up on it. So now that goes back to what I was saying about the Wii U, how they didn't. It came down to lies, excuses, and laziness, and they didn't want to put the work in. You know. So when it comes to this games being backwards compatible, I think it's up to the console manufacturers, you know, to make their consoles fully backwards compatible from day one. I don't care how much money it costs, as long as the system is fully backwards compatible. This was one of the reasons why the PlayStation fans, they were mad at Sony. You know, when the PlayStation 4 or 5 couldn't play PlayStation 1, 2, and 3 games, and they were mad about that. So, you know, I think it's really up to the console manufacturers to really make sure that their system is fully backwards compatible from jump. You know, I think it was really up to them. You know, and this also goes back. You know, this also goes back to the whole cartridge versus CD issue too. If you want to bring that into the equation. So what Phil Spencer is saying here is true. You know, emulation is good. You know, but emulation is good, and people should be people that emulate games should have the rights to emulate their games if a console manufacturer doesn't want to make their system backwards compatible. And people that do emulation shouldn't be persecuted. Shouldn't be sued or be persecuted just because they emulate a game because the console manufacturers don't want to put the work in, so to speak. So what Phil Spencer is saying is true. You know, it's true. You know, so you know, emulation should be used to preserve older games. It's true. You know, it's true. You know. And these companies, Sony and Nintendo, they got billions of dollars, but yet they want you to you already have the game, but now they want you to buy the same games twice to make it look like you never had it. Yeah? Remember, I asked you guys, I said, what was the difference between Mario Kart 8 and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe? It was the same game. All they did to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was add some extra levels and extra characters. That's all they did, you know. Which was a DLC for the Wii U, by the way. Like I've been telling people. So, it's up to the console manufacturers. But people that do emulation, you know, like Emulation Paradise and all that, they shouldn't be persecuted by console manufacturers because the console manufacturers don't want to do their jobs like that do the job of making games backwards compatible. So yeah, I think what Phil Spencer is saying is true. You know, emulation is used to preserve should be used to preserve older games, and there's plenty of right now we're up in the Xbox Series X and PS5 era, and there's plenty of games from the PS4, from the PlayStation. I mean, from PlayStation, all the console manufacturers that you could think of. You know, that could be you know, that needs a backwards compat or emulation. You know, so you can play it in modern times because consoles get old. So yeah. I think they should really make their system backwards compatible to fight this emulation, you know, and stop worrying about money so much, you know, because consoles get old, parts get old. Yeah, it's definitely you know, it's definitely it's an issue, but I think it still comes down to the console manufacturers when it's all said and done. But anyway, let me know your thoughts and inputs on this article. I'm going to leave this video for y'all to enjoy. Nice talking to you people again. Chris, still a Star Wars and Star Trek thing. Or Dark Side. Go. Peace.